This conference will now be recorded.
Sounds good, Chris.
Thank you very much. Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm Mayor Chris Ewan, and I will be doing introductions for council. We have Councillor Curtis Clayton from Ward 3.
Hello, everybody.
We have Councillor Ron Mamchuk from Ward 2.
Good evening.
We have Councillor Shane Pelche from Ward 1.
Hi, everyone.
We have Councillor Janine Boulanger from Ward 4.
Hello, everybody.
We have administration here with us, Mitch Duval, our CAO.
Good evening.
We have Tanya Waddell off camera. She is the planner. And we have Dominic Lemoine off camera. She is the assistant CAO for the evening. Well, all the time. Again, I'm Mayor Chris Ewan. I will start the public hearing. I'm going to open it at 6:32 p.m. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor? I will start by reading the list of people that wanted to speak. We'll start with Karen Paul Sandhu. Mr. Sandhu is here with us. I'll ask him if he comes a little closer so the microphone can pick him up because we have the interpreter with us. So yeah, right there is fine. Go ahead, Mr. Sandhu. Speak as loud as possible, please.
Lot 2, Plan 5, C5-2020. We feel the plan has addressed a lot of concerns that communities that we build in typically have. First and foremost, parking. We have 318 stalls, which include the single-family attached garages. So over 150 units, that's more than two per unit. We have some visitor parking as well. We have plenty of green space in the development that we have put forward, the proposal. Plenty of play areas for children and walking paths and so on. We feel it connects very well to the existing major roads in the area. And we'll have a lot of landscaping as well. And one of the more important items that we have in the plan are bungalows. So we have approximately 22 out of 150 units that will be 42. Okay, I'll correct that. Brian text is here too. So 42 bungalows. So we feel that that's very important in addressing the need for seniors. This development will be open market. Families, seniors, whoever really feels the need for this type of housing is welcome. So, but in particular for the seniors, this would be very good. Hardly any steps, any stairs involved, and as well we have full basements that residents can finish if they want to. We have decks, green spaces, lawns. So we feel it addresses a number of markets in the community, and it will be a real asset to the community. I think it'll be welcomed very well. It's not going to add. I know we're driven by the adjoining condos and rentals, and we did notice parking happening on old Highway 59. That's not going to be an issue with our development. We're going to make sure that there won't be any need for that. There'll be ample visitor parking and parking for the residents. So we feel this will be a real asset to the community. I'm really looking forward to this.
Thank you. I'm off screen. I don't know if the interpreter can hear me. Yes, interpreters, you can hear me. So I'm off screen here. Council, do you have any questions or comments for Mr. Sandhu?
Hi, Mr. Mayor. I just have a quick question for Mr. Sandhu.
Yep.
Just so with respect to your site plan that I'm looking at here, what would your approach be to the actual build for the units? Would you be doing everything all at one time and the landscaping all at one time, or would you have a phased in approach?
So we're looking at doing the first approximately 50%, actually about 70 units. We want to do those first, and it's all going to be built in phases regardless. So we're thinking blocks of 6 townhomes attached. So this will address the issue of, as we all know, we're going through this virus situation and the economy is slowed down quite a bit. So building in phases will allow us to build a couple of blocks and then rent them out, say 6 and 6, maybe 12 units, rent those out and then keep going. So put in roadways for say the first 50 to 70 units and then build them out, rent them and keep going. And then we can address the rest of the site, but it will be master planned for the 150 units. So that is not a patchwork once we're done. It's one community, one neighborhood.
Just one more question then, and with respect to the landscaping, that would be phased in as well. So as you build units, you would sort of gradually complete the landscaping.
Yes, what we typically do is we try to address the common areas. If we're doing a phase of if we're doing the first 70 units, we'll try to address the whole phase with the landscaping, and then. But yeah, if we're doing, for example, we're doing a sixplex moving people in, we will finish the landscaping. The lawns will be complete and then we'll keep going. And the shrubs and so on. And there will be proper fencing around the entire development as well. That would be one of the first things as well.
Thank you.
Anything else from council?
Yes, I have a question. Regarding the heights of the bungalows and the 2 stories, I know there was a resident that was concerned that it was going to block their southern exposure. But because these are more townhouses and not apartment type or 3-story buildings, can you tell us what the maximum height of the tallest unit will be? Is that possible? Just to give those people a little bit of peace of mind?
Yes, Brian, I think that's about 20.
Probably about 26 feet.
Yeah, so we measure that architecturally to the middle of the roof height, so about 26 feet.
Thank you.
Anything else from council?
I had a
Can I-
question as well.
Can I ask a
Right now,
question?
we're just taking in favor from the delegates, and then anyone wishing to speak in opposition or have comments, they can follow up with the questions after. I'll ask them to speak, but right now it's just for council to ask the questions. Council's
Sorry.
okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Steele.
with
It's just hard to
the
hear you, Chris.
with the addition of the 150 units and the traffic that's going to be generated because of these units, has there or do you know of a traffic impact study and how that will affect the 4 corners of Old 59 and Dumaine?
We haven't done a traffic impact study at the moment. We consulted with highways, and typically for developments that they feel are going to have an impact, they require that, but in our discussions, we haven't been asked to do any such study at this point. Just another point of note, we are looking at realistically to complete 150 units. I would say we're into 4 years, to be realistic, 3 to 4 years to complete building all these units out. So it's a very gradual build and occupation and so on. The density increases gradually. So that's another point to note. We haven't done an impact study at this moment.
Anything else from council or administration?
Yeah, just curious as to who handles your rental agreements and leases. Do you guys have an office in-house that takes care of that?
For a project that's bringing units in gradually, we have 2 options. We have hired local realtors in the past that know the community well, and so that's something we're definitely going to explore. But we do have in-house rental agreements and such that we have staff looking at that and doing showings and such.
Anything else from council?
Yeah, I have one other question. There are, as we know, more rental units to the north of this development, and I've heard that they're not always full. And so I was just wondering, have you done any kind of market analysis or study as to the need for rental units in this area? And if so, what are those results?
So yes, we have done that, and we found that we're targeting, I would say, families and seniors. Those are our core markets that we're targeting. We found that really have only one comparable that's vacant right now. That's Forthright Properties. They have a townhome that's renting, that's available for rent. Apart from that, because we're looking at larger units that we're building, 3 bedrooms, an average size of about 1150 square feet, 3 bedroom, 2 baths. So we haven't found in our market much vacancy available right now. So like I mentioned, the Forthright Properties townhome down the road is probably the only unit that would compare to our project.
Anything else from council or administration? Okay, thank you, Mr. Senator. I appreciate it. I'm just going to turn the camera back to myself and set up. Okay, is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Mr. Lawrence, would you like to speak? Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'll get you just in the same spot, and then you can come and say your piece. I'm just going to turn around for Mr. Lawrence Rowland. Go ahead.
Hi, Lawrence Rowland here. I'm sure most of the people know me. And I am hoping that this proposal will go through. I think it makes sense. And I must say that in the last 5 years, I have not had any grain on storage. I've been getting older and I like to haul the grain straight to the elevator. And otherwise, there's other problems that can crop up, like animals coming, like, mice and stuff like that. So I'm saying that I think it's about time to maybe shut the operation down because of the proximity to the condos that are there now. And I just hope council sees favor to help our town grow. Thank you very much for your indulgence.
Is there any questions, Mr. Lawrence? From council or admin?
Down here.
No, thank you. I'll turn it back around to me. Thank you. Okay, I apologize for the inconvenience. We do have a boardroom computer that's open. I just thought this would be easier so that there's not administration running back and forth if there were technical difficulties. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Mr. Maskey? Yes, I'll get you to come to the same spot. We have one more person here that I'll be turning the computer to. And just your name.
Brian Mansky. I just wanted to just elaborate on a couple of points here that Mr. Sandhu had made. I talked about the quantity of parking available. The zoning requirement is for 2 stalls per unit, so that's 300 stalls. He had given out a number. He was going by one of the recent or an earlier design. The design we have right now, we have more parking. We got parking for 343 vehicles on there, so that's 43 unassigned spots. But a special note is that I've made space that would allow for up to 10 semi-trailer type tractors to be able to park on the site at the very end of the development, closer to the highway and away from a distance away from a majority of the units, so that if anybody does move into here and has a rig that they need to keep close to home, this can be housed within the site and wouldn't be seen on the roads. Yes, we already picked up on how many two-bedroom bungalows were within this unit. And one thing of special note on the design of the bungalow units is they have pedestrian level entries. There is only a landing in front of the door and you step in, and then the stairs, there'll be 3 steps to get into the unit there internal. That's a little easier to handle than anything ice covered on the outside. And that leaves the attached garage, walks in right at that great entry level as well. There's no stairs inside of the garage to negotiate. Okay.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Mr. Mansky from Council or Administration?
None here.
Thank you, Mr. Mansky. I'll turn it back now to you. Okay, is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Okay, was there anything received in favor?
Yes, there was one email received from Karen Paul Sandu voting in favor of the
Hold
project.
on one second, sorry, you're bouncing.
Yep. There was one email from Karen Paul Sandu.
Okay, now do it. In favor of the project from Karen Paul Sandu, thank you very much. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Or sorry, anything else received? That's it. Is there anyone wishing to speak against? So I have a list here I will read out. And if they're online, great. If they are not, we will go to the next name. Or if there's anything sent from those people to us, then we will read that out. So we have a Desiree Blanc.
Hi. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. If you want to put your video on, you can, but you don't have to.
I'm okay without.
Okay.
So I had sent in a letter. I'm just wondering if everyone in council has had a chance to read it.
So the letters that were brought to us will be on our AllNet screen. I believe council has them all in front of them. And if they don't have them in front of them, they definitely did them. Council, can you confirm you all have them on your AllNet sheet or screen?
Yep,
Yes.
I have it and I read it, yes.
Same
Okay.
with me, I went through all letters.
Okay.
Okay. So really the letter says everything that I'm opposed to. And then there was some questions I had that have all been answered already, such as the height of the building and the roadway. I don't think the issue has been so much as the parking, but the speed of the road. So I know that I myself, when I have gone to Shadow Ridge, I have had to slow down to make sure if I know which condo building to drive into. And it is quite nerve-wracking to slow down on that highway sometimes. So I think the concern is not so much the parking on the road, but the speed that you have to transition to onto that area of the highway. Other than that, everything I have said in my letter is my concerns about this. The pictures do look beautiful, and I think that it would be a positive thing to add to it, but I think that there are some things that need to be addressed prior to that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Council, did you have any questions for Mrs. Blanc, Miss Blanc? No? Okay, we'll continue. Thank you very much, Desiree. I appreciate that. We have next up Shannon Taylor. Okay, was there anything received from Shannon Taylor? Yes. Do you want me to read it so it's not echoing? Normally I don't do the reading, but I will tonight, so forgive me for my Mr. Rogers voice. Good afternoon, Miss Waddell. Please present this email as my formal opposition to C5-2020. We love the community of Ile-des-Chênes and we have lived in our current home for almost 10 years. We will be directly impacted by the proposed development C5-2020. We would not be able to enjoy our backyard as we do now. There will be more noise, lights, and constant traffic during and after construction, which is exactly why we left the city. We have a beautiful view from our deck with no obstructions, and we would like to continue to live this way until it is absolutely necessary that the community grows. Alternatively, we would like to see more 1 to 2 acre lots with single family homes being built so that more young families would consider Ile-des-Chênes their home and support the community like we have for so many years. There is already a rental company in Ile-des-Chênes that rents 58 townhouses, and I have confirmed that they continue to have rentals available throughout the year. There are also townhouses at the corner of Dumaine and Main Street to buy or possibly rent. There always seems to be at least one for sale. In addition, there are numerous condos for rent and for sale. There is a sufficient amount of rental and real estate available throughout town, and we do not require 150 new rental units at this time. We understand that growth is inevitable, but until there is a major demand, it is not necessary. There are concerns with vehicle and pedestrian safety for the current developments along the old 59. Until the provincial government decreases the speed limit and adds a crosswalk or increases accessibility along the highway, we should not add any new developments. We should ensure the safety of those already established in town. Questions. Will there be trees planted for privacy and to eliminate some noise and light? Will there be parking allowed on the highway like the other developments? Will there be a crosswalk or walking path? Will there be any green space? When is this set to begin? How long will the project take for completion? Will our property value decrease as well as those surrounding the development, in houses, and the condos? Thank you, Shannon Taylor. So a couple of those questions have been answered. I will keep note of the questions and I can ask the developer at the end of all those opposed or any other comments or questions. Thank you. Moving on to Carmen Girardin. Are you online? Was anything received from Ms. Girardin?
I don't think so.
Council, do you have the list of objection letters?
I don't.
Sorry, no, there was nothing received.
Nothing received. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Just keep me in the loop because I don't have both screens up. I just have the screens of everyone that's part of the meeting. Okay, so moving on, Dan Desrochers. Dan, are you online? Was anything received from Mr. Desrochers?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
No.
Moving on to Paul Larocque. Paul, Mr. Larocque, are you with us? I do not see your name. I believe there was stuff received from Mr. Larocque. Dominic, do you have it, or Tanya? Tanya, would you like me to read it? Just give us 1 second. We're just getting all the information. Okay, so I'm just going to read the full email. It seems Mr. Paul Larocque has emailed the Minister of Municipal Relations. In this, dear Minister of Municipal Relations, please review the attached letter regarding planned unit developments, PUD in the Planning Act, asking where is it defined and what authorizes RMs to set zoning bylaw PUD standards. I ask that you help clarify and explain the question herein by referencing the Planning Act.
I'm sorry for the interpreter. Sorry for the interpreter. I'm going to have to ask you just to read a little bit slower.
Slower, absolutely. No. Okay. Dear Minister of Municipal Relations, please review the attached letter regarding planned unit developments in the Planning Act, asking where is it defined and what authorizes RMs to set zoning bylaw PUD standards. I ask that you help clarify and explain the question herein by referencing the Planning Act. Respectfully, Paul Larocque. CC Tanya Waddell from the RM of Richard. Tanya, I wish to read this letter at the public hearing tomorrow for the conditional use application to allow 150 townhouses as a PUD. I am not in favor of the proposal at this time as I don't understand how it complies with the Planning Act. I am hoping this letter to the minister will help me gain a better understanding. That's email 1. I'm just paraphrasing here. You can read out these 2 points in the event I cannot attend. This hearing process for this conditional use application for a PUD has been stressful for me and other residents. I can sympathize what the early Métis settlers must have felt like. I hope council can work better with residents on this project and future project. I know other residents will speak to the merits of this proposal, so I don't need to repeat them again here as I share the same sentiment. Paul, 2 points. I do not believe that this conditional use application to allow a 150 townhouses as a planned unit development in the residential general RG8 zone is valid. The RM of Richard nor its regional planning office have been able to answer the following question. Where is in the Planning Act does it give RM the authority to set PUD standards? The zoning bylaw must comply with the Planning Act. If the Planning Act doesn't allow it, then zoning bylaw can't make it up. Zoning bylaw requirements must be derived from the Planning Act. A layman's way to explain it, as I understand it, is say RM Council creates a zoning bylaw defining a biker unit development definition, and then define zoning standards for the BUD to be a minimum of 1 acre. Someone would look at this and say that is utter nonsense and ask, show me where in the Planning Act where we give RM the authority to do this. RMs shouldn't be allowed to do this because it circumvents the zoning bylaws, which are there for a reason, to prevent spot zoning, which is what this application is all about. That is why I believe PUDs were repealed from the Planning Act in 2006. He then shares a link with us. It's very long. We clicked online. As I have not received a satisfactory explanation, I have sent a letter to the Minister of Municipal Relations asking for a clear explanation on this matter. I would like confirmation the rules in the Planning Act have been followed. I did not see any signage or notice posted for this conditional use application in plain view in Ile-des-Chênes. I emailed the RM for a link of where it was posted on their website and did not receive it. Nor did I find it by navigating through the RM website. I went to the Ile-des-Chênes Hotel after the hearing from council saying that it was posted there, and it was not posted on any outside windows. I drove to the lot 2 of Plan 57238 2 days ago, and there was no posting or notice to be seen. I went to the Ile-des-Chênes Country Store after the hearing, and it was not posted anywhere looking on the outside. The only public place I saw signposted viewable from the outside of any building was the RM office in St. Adolphe, 15 kilometers away. No proposal plans from the RM office could be seen from the outside. On the hearing notice, residents were asked to email the RM for more info. Not everyone has a computer and internet access or a printer to print out the documents. Some had problems with their internet and email provider and resorted to Facebook to message. There is also no means for residents to gather in a public setting to discuss and debate the pros and cons. Everything and everyone is in lockdown during the pandemic as per the physical distance law in effect. I would like confirmation that all the public signage and notice rules for this C5-2020 public hearing have been followed with evidence showing where these signs are posted and how to find it by navigating the website. Thank you. Paul Larocque. Okay, that's it from Mr. Larocque. Mr. CEO, do you have any comments on the questions he's asked?
Yes, I could definitely comment. So basically, from what I gather here, there's two questions being asked: the authority to allow a plan unit development, a PUD, within our zoning bylaw, as well as the public notice that is to be posted or advertised. So for the first question, Mr. Larocque is correct that back in 2006, the Planning Act did remove the definition of plan unit developments. However, in speaking with our acting assistant deputy minister, Anangi Aliaga, today, she did mention that there is no mention of plan unit developments in the Planning Act, but those provisions are scattered throughout the Act and still gives the municipalities the ability to work and create these plan unit developments. What I would like to say as well is that when council and the municipality worked on our zoning bylaw 9-2019, we were working side by side with the province regarding our zoning bylaw, and it is quite clear and quite defined as to what a plan unit development is within our zoning bylaw, and that's situated on page 44 of our zoning bylaw. There was also a email that was sent to Ms. Waddell that I was hoping that Mr. Larocque would have seen by now, because they have to go through the communication process at the province, but it is basically from Otley Murray, who is the planner in Portage La Prairie, I believe. And basically it says there that in the case for the reach out zoning bylaw, it is clearly defined and regulates the PUD as required. So for that first question, yes, they are allowed. It's a little bit intricate, but the process has been done and is checked for. The second one is regarding the notices, and this is a question that comes up very often. And when it comes to public notices, it falls under the legislation, the Planning Act, under 169 bracket 2. And what it says there is that at least 14 days before the public hearing, a copy is to be sent to the applicant and posted in the municipal office. The second part of that is notices to the affected properties, and that's under number 169 bracket 3. And what it says there is A, a copy of the notice of the hearing must be sent at least 14 days before the hearing to every owner or of property located within 100 meters of the affected property. The key word that follows after that is the word or. Or B, where the affected property is not remote or inaccessible, must be posted on that property in accordance to section 170. And section 170 tells you the size of the sign and how big the lettering has to be, et cetera, et cetera. So the key word there is or. In this situation, we did send out notices to all properties within 100 meters. And I think that is more effective, and this is my opinion, this is more effective and will hit more people than just placing a sign out in the middle of the field where you're driving by, you don't know what it is, you have to stop the car, cross the ditch, and hopefully there's no water in there, read it, and then get back into your car. I think the proper procedures were done. To complement what the RM has also done is we've posted it on our website. Now, I think the problem with the website is that as we add more and more notices, they tend to fall off the queue. So a person who looks at the website, looks at the main page, may not necessarily know that there's a public hearing going on because it has gone down in order. We also post these notices at some of these common businesses. Now, we cannot control, and nor do we check on a daily basis if they're still up or not. But the posting is done, and after that, it is what it is. Many times they may be torn down, they may be ripped off by the business owner or anybody else who may come along. So that is where we at for the notices. So my opinion, we've done what we can, and under the conditions we have, we're 100% legit. My opinion.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. I appreciate that. I will move on. We actually do have a email from Mr. Dan Desrochers. It's under my emails under meritrichot.com. I'm just going to go back to Dan Desrochers' comments. I would like to express my concerns with the new development on Old Path 59. 1, the traffic exiting the condos do not stop before pulling out onto 59. 2, there are cars and heavy trucks parked on the shoulder of the highway. 3, there is a highway truck parked right at the sign that states no trucks. 4, contractors use 59 as a lane and unload equipment on the highway. 5, cars parking on both sides of highway shoulder. Concerned resident Dan Desrochers. I will send it to administration once the meeting is over. Okay, moving on, we have number 7, Cindy Neal. Cindy, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you, Cindy. You can have your video on, but you don't need to, and then we will let you begin.
Can you repeat that, please?
You can have your video on if you want, but you don't need to. You can begin with any concerns or questions.
Hello. Okay, so is everybody hearing me okay? First off, I'd like to say my name is Cindy Neal. I've lived in Neldershane almost my whole life. I have nothing but the best for my community in mind. I have tried to reach out recently to some of the people in my community via the only platform that we seem to have in a pandemic during a lockdown, which is Facebook. And I thought that even that process was hindered by the mayor himself. He tried to, I think, discourage me from posting on Facebook when I feel that both Mr. Ewan and Mr. Pelche had an opportunity as residents of our community to inform us better about a project that is upwards of $40 million. I was kind of late into learning about it. I think everybody was. We don't understand exactly what this project entails. We don't know what the background is that's been involved to get to the point where it's at now. We don't understand what it looks like. We've not seen many pictures or models or had an opportunity to have a public meeting and, you know, share concerns and information to ask the developer questions, etc. I think that it's been troublesome to see how this process seems to be being rushed through at this stage of the hearing when apparently a lot of people have concern. I watched people yesterday who were unable to voice their concern. We already have, I think, 3 people today who had expressed concerns but were unable to get it to you. It just seems very fast and rushed. As to my actual concerns, I have many of them. Most of them are, seems to me that Mr. Santu has responded directly to some of the stuff that I posted in my letter earlier. And I don't believe everything that he says to be up to the standards of the Planning Development Act that the municipality itself had devised in 2011 and the future that they set for our community. I love our community. I love the people that are here. But when we go through our community right now, there is a lot of need for some beautification and some connecting paths and sidewalks and biking trail, so many things. I feel that the last 5 years, the development that has gone through had an opportunity to address many of these things, and they were not considered. And I feel that it's very important that the community have a large opportunity right now to see exactly what this green space is, what these walking trails look like. I don't see that in the plan. I see houses stacked on houses, 150 units in a very small area. I don't see how there's ample space for green space and for children to play there. I would like to see a model of that or something. And I think our community would like to see that too. I've been accused of not being in favor of growth. That is not true at all. I am in favor of growth. I'm in favor of mixed growth in terms of ownership, rental, housing for seniors, housing for family, affordable housing. I want all of it addressed. And I'm not sure that myself or the members of my community, I would like to know, I would like to also have it on record that even though the mayor has taken it upon himself to tell me that I could not have a petition, I did indeed have a petition, and 51 people ended up agreeing with many of the points that I'm making right now. I think it's an opportunity in our community to speak to these people, and it is a pandemic. We have to find a way to have a meeting to learn more about this project before it's pushed forward. I have sent a very detailed letter, and I'm not sure if you would like me to read it into the minutes, if that's how it's done. But, you know, basically it just goes on to speak about the points in the planning development, about how we are supposed to be having mixed green space and trees. And I know Mr. Santu said these things. I don't see them in the plan. I really don't see ample green space for children to play. We're supposed to improve and connect parks. Item 3A in the planning development is you're supposed to improve and connect parks and recreation facilities with schools and other community services. As it stands now, there is a huge disconnect from one side of the community to the other side, the new side, on the other side of Old 59, right? The children are not allowed to cross that highway because the speed limit is too dangerous. There is no crosswalk, there is no sidewalk, there's no system for that. So if the community was following guidelines before, how did that happen? And if they're going to follow the guidelines now, then it won't happen again, and we will make sure that that's built into this plan before it's put through. They talk about housing for seniors. I do think that, to me, it looked like, I didn't see a model of it. I don't think anybody's seen a model of this development. But when I was looking at the blueprint of the plan, it did look like there were stairs entering into all of these units. So I think Mr. Sandu said, what did he say exactly? That there are not stairs, or that there are some units that don't have stairs? I'm not sure. I haven't seen a model. Long story short, I feel like this developer is going to profit. He is not from our community. He is not planning to live in our community. He's not planning to be part of our community. He is going to build this residence, and then he is going to operate it and profit from outside of our community. That being said, I think that we as residents, and it states that in the Planning Development Act as well, that we should have an opportunity to work with the municipality and with the developer to make sure that anything that he develops in our community is worthy of our community, that it's pleasing, and that addresses all of the points in the development plan. I think I've made all of my points. My letter is submitted to council and on record for more details.
Thank you, Cindy. I appreciate that. We did receive your letters and information to our administration, and I believe all of council has the information on their AllNet system. Okay, thank you. Is there any questions from council to Cindy or Mrs. Neal?
I've got one. What do you think would be a good fit for that location?
I think a good fit for that location would be something that is more rural in nature, right? Something that has larger yards, larger green spaces, more mixed housing, something that has something that's very specific for seniors, because that's a huge need in our community, a huge need, and something that has green space and ties into the rest of the community.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pelletier. Is there any other councillors or administration that have any questions for Mrs. Neal?
I have a question, not necessarily for Mrs. Neal, but I'm just wondering if everybody's got the right plans and site plan that they're reviewing, because the site plan that we're looking at indeed has a lot of green, a lot of trees, a lot of green space, and all that extra parking. So I'm just wondering if the proper site plan has been issued to everybody, because in my opinion, there is a lot of green space and a lot of trees shown on that plan.
Mr. CEO or Ms. Planner, did you have any comments? Did you just want to say something? The same site plan that was on the agenda was sent to whoever requested it. Okay, thank you, Mrs. Neal. I appreciate that. We'll move on. We have Katrina Profeta. We have information. I'll read it out loud. To council, unfortunately, my workload has picked up for today and I'm most likely not going to make it tonight, which is really upsetting because I did have concerns. The applicant, Karen Paul Sandhu, currently has 12 files with the courts beginning 2012 with 2 most recently opened October 2019. How can council be sure this won't happen again when the applicant clearly has not learned their lesson after 12 files being open and the province having to bail him out on his most recent project? The highway takeover should come before further developments on Old 59. This includes speed reduction, sidewalk, and parking before building commences. A separate access to the property and not through Shadow Ridge property is required. I know the owner next door currently has access from our driveway area, but this is something that before demolition begins, I would like to see closed. With demolition, I would like to know how it does not plan to disturb residents next door. Those in building C and D Shadow Ridge owners are concerned about the 2-story buildings that will be built directly behind as opposed to the bungalows. This will block out all sun and the view will be directly into the Shadow Ridge owners' bedrooms and balconies. Sincerely, Katrina Profeta. Thank you. Next up, we have Wayne Paley or Paley. I apologize for the mispronunciation. Mr. Paley. Was there anything received from Mr. Paley or Paley?
Yes, there was. It's the last letter.
Okay, can somebody other than me read it? Because I do not have that screen up.
I can read it if you want.
Thank you.
Hi, Dominique. I am objecting the method that this meeting is taking. I believe that in talking to a number of people here in town, and especially at our condos, that this meeting should be held at a town hall where everyone can attend the meeting and voice any concerns they have. Doing the meeting in this matter manner of online seems that this is trying to rush through something that could hurt our community down the road. As questioned, did the municipality check into the credentials of this person? I can tell you a lot of us have, and find that there is an element of mistrust rearing its ugly head. So if you should decide to go ahead, I am voting no to the development unless we can wait and have a proper meeting. Thanks, Wayne Paley.
Thank you very much. I do believe that's it for my list. I did get a message. Someone's mic is not working, and Mr. Mike Allison, he wants to speak, so I have called him on my cell phone, and I will take him off of mute, and he will give his position or any comments he'd like to have or ask. Mike, you are on now. Can you speak? Go ahead again.
Can you hear me now?
I believe we can hear you. Can you turn off your mic or your sound on the video?
Oh, now, can you hear me okay?
Yes. Can the interpreter hear him? Okay, the interpreter can hear you. Go ahead.
So I'm muted mine, so I can't hear myself speak, so hopefully everyone can hear me okay.
Yes.
I'm conflicted by this a little bit. I'm a resident in Ile-des-Chênes here, so I'm going to give my 2 cents on everything that's gone in a short period of time. I respect a lot of the things that have come up, people's concerns. First off, I'd like to say I am supportive towards this development, but I do have some concerns as well with the process of the development and what's going to take place with it. So a few concerns that are very obvious with the current condition with our rental properties and condos that are currently there at that intersection. Prime example that I saw happen with Sage Creek is they developed that community of Sage Creek, and they had built the lights and they constructed all that stuff with one entrance to access that point. You'll notice after a year or two of that development, they had to reconstruct and reconfigure merge lanes for the fact that it was now populated, that the flow of traffic was compromised. Rush hour periods, entering danger zones, accidents were taking place with that intersection. Currently, right now, just with the development that's happened over the couple of years with the buildings in place, that is a very busy intersection that I'm referring to on the main highway 59. Now, when you enter into the community, you have another intersection there, which has always been a concern for most people that have been here, most residents that have experienced walking that area. It's a four-way stop with no four-way signs for people entering. So there's a lot of rolled stop signs. There's a lot of speeders going through there. And my worry slightly on this, and when I say slightly, it is a worry. I don't think it will increase worse than it is, but it's still a huge concern for the fact that you have that community that has lots of children, lots of people walking, and I think it does have to be taken into consideration that we have to do some form of construction for that intersection, as well as the development of the roadway on Old 59 and widening it or increasing that as well. That should be taken into consideration. Now, the reason why I'm positive toward this development is I don't believe that space can be used for anything else. I truly believe the growth of the community needs to be done, and with that space that is available, I believe will benefit the community on the longer period, the longer time frame. I would love to, and it's not meant for this meeting, but I would love to go into depth about the budget plans, that what the potential revenue this would bring to the RM, and out of the revenue for the RM, what percentage is going toward the infrastructure, and what the budget plans is based on the projections of that revenue with this development what is going to be used for the infrastructure. If we are using X amount of percentage of infrastructure right now, and we bring on 300 or 150 properties, how much is that going to benefit our current infrastructure budget from where it is now? Despite that, the developer needs to come up with a plan, or that needs to be executed better than just all of a sudden throwing a building there. So I'm conflicted because I know this is a voiding process and things are speeding up, but I think that has to be taken into consideration for the process to put this thing through. So that's my 2 cents in the whole thing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Allison. He hung up on me. I know he's on the line though. Does council have any questions for Mr. Mike Allison? I'll just make a quick comment to kind of answer Mr. Allison's question. I will say that council held a special meeting for the first reading of the budget 2020. And one thing that we are doing differently than what past councils have done is we are starting to look at assessment value and how it increases each year or every second year whenever an assessment's done, and taking that, and instead of playing with the mill rate to satisfy just status quo, we are very business minded in the sense that we want to see things done. We are a progressive council, and I thank each member of my council for that. We're starting to look at the budget, and for example, one thing we're looking at doing is allocating certain funds for sidewalk or project improvements such as sidewalks. You'll see if you attend our financial plan public hearing, or you listen in on the second or third reading, you'll see some of those things. Our CEO, I'm sure, will talk a little bit about what the council's doing, as well as our 5-year capital plan. So we have addressed that issue that nothing is getting done, and we're looking how we can get stuff done. Council, anything else? Okay, I'll move on. Is there anyone else wishing to speak against or in favor? I'll open it up for either. Is there anyone in the room that would like to speak again? Okay, we'll bring Mr. Lawrence Rowland back on. I'm just going to flip the camera around.
I realize there are traffic issues in the area, but about 3 or 4 years ago, we had a general meeting in the old Shane Hall, which was very well attended, and council presented a very pretty streets improvement plan. And part of that included a cul-de-sac. And I'd have to say, the first thing that's needed at that intersection is definitely a cul-de-sac. And that's all part of council's business. As far as the parking on the streets, I don't like that, and especially when I'm pulling out with my big machinery. But I think a speed zone in there would be well appreciated. I know I am sick when I pull out there with a 30-foot machine behind me. How do you think I'd feel? I haven't had a bad accident so far, thank heavens, but I think there's something that could be done with a speed zone and improving the streets in the area. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else in the room that would like to speak? So we're just going to bring one of the developers or architects in to answer some of the questions that were presented.
Chris, we can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Hold on a second.
Mr. Mayor,
yeah.
Just as a clarification to Mr. Rowland's comment, the proper term is not cul-de-sac. It would be a traffic circle. Roundabout.
Thank you. Traffic circle. Thank you very much. Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to turn it around now to Mr. Mansky.
Okay, we had our earlier discussions with highways to see if there was a need to do a traffic impact study or any other work through highways with the plan development. Highways had advised us that they are working on turning over that portion of old Highway 59 to the RM, that they've been working on it for years, but they are very slow and don't know when they're going to finish the process. So if anybody has a way of speeding up highways to turn that highway over It is not a provincial trunk highway anymore. It hasn't been a provincial trunk highway for a lot of years. Highways have been dragging their feet on turning that highway over to the RM. When they do, the RM will have full power to change the speed limit at any time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm glad a politician didn't have to say that. We will move on. I'm just going to check with some of the questions. Or was there anyone else that wishes to speak in favor or against, or any general comments before I just try and clarify some questions if they haven't been answered?
I'd like to make a final comment.
Yeah.
I'd like to point out that there have been no less than 5 people who have indicated that they'd like to speak against this, but have been unable to because of due process. I think that the only people that have spoken in favor at this hearing are the people that will profit from it. I think that better transparency needs to happen, and that moving forward, you need to have a meeting with the community to share information and to, have clear transparency. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll take that into consideration. Anyone else wishing to speak? So I'm just going to read through my questions in my head. Give me 1 second. I'm going to see if any of them weren't answered, and I will ask the developers. So give me 1 second. I'm turning my microphone off while I read these. So the only question that looks like it has not been answered of relevancy is, and Mr. CEO, I don't know if you can answer this or not, it's just a general question. Will our property value decrease as well as those surrounding the development in houses and the condos?
And I knew you were going to throw that my way. Thank you, Your Worship. I do not have the magic answer for that. Property values, of course, is based on seller and buyer and what each one is willing to sell for and pay for. So that's a very difficult question to answer. That is not my trade as well. And the assessment of those properties are basically based on those market values. So from what we've seen, values of homes and land usually do not depreciate, they usually appreciate in time. So that's all I could offer at this point.
Okay, I appreciate that. I'm just going to continue on. I see a microphone going off and on from Dustin, I believe. Dustin, did you have any comments, or was this just a technical glitch on your microphone?
The cameras on your end have been freezing for me, so I've just been kind of reloading the page every 5 minutes here. So.
Okay, you have no questions or comments?
No, just spectating.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, we do have one more in the gallery here. I believe it's Mr. Mansky again that would like to add a comment. Did you want to come up? Yep, sure. Mr. Mansky is going to come up again. I'm just going to switch over.
Yes, with regards to property values, we have been involved in a case in another RM where that question came up and the homeowner took it to court. So it went right through the Court of Queen's bench, and the result of that was that property values are not affected by development.
Thank you. Thank you, I appreciate that. Okay, we have some letters that were sent in that we will begin to read, as I see no one else willing to speak in favor or against.
Mrs. Waddell is passing to me. These are all new from the ones. Okay, so these are all new letters that have not been read yet. File C5-2020 application for conditional use. Development in Ritchot Municipality is always encouraged. There is a necessity that Ritchot Municipality encourage any development to the benefit of its citizens. The decision to approve or not approve this file lays with the Ritchot Municipality. The following is to express concerns regarding this development. The developer business plan will determine the feasibility of the project. Based on fact, Forest Right Management currently has excess rentals available in Ile-des-Chênes. Ritchot Municipality should use this information as part of its consideration. Concern with the capability of the developer to complete this project. My estimate is $20 to $30 million or more. Will there be a timeline for completion? What will be the course of action for non-completion? Traffic will be a cause for concern. With full implementation, there could be 343 vehicles accessing Old 59. Ritchot Municipality needs to plan for this increase in traffic. Shadow Ridge condo owners have a concern with two-story townhouses being built on north edge of the development. This will block direct sunlight from accessing a south-facing balcony. We are requesting Ritchot Municipality amend the site plan to encourage bungalows along the north perimeter. A project of this magnitude will have lots of families with children. It may be in the interest of Ritchot Municipality to require a playground on site as part of the development agreement. It seems there is a site south of Unit 115 capable of development of a playground. The Ritchot Municipality, when giving consideration for this project, should consider the following. One, assuming control of Old 59. 2, reducing the speed limit to 60 kph or lower. 3, restrict parking on the west side of Old 59 in front of all developments, Haley Commons, Shadow Ridge, and New. 4, create a safe walking path for all the developments to Domain Road, then to Main Street. The safety of residents using Old 59 North and south of Domain Road should be of utmost importance. If Ritchot Municipality and the province of Manitoba cannot enter into an agreement regarding Old 59, this new development should not proceed. If Ritchot Municipality adds the total units included in the 3 developments south of Domain Road, these total approximately 325. This is probably equal to 25 to 30% of the total housing units in Ile-des-Chênes. It is incumbent on Ritchot Municipality to create an environment of livability for these housing units. It is important to be connected to the community of Ile-des-Chênes. Jerry and Lynn Belanger, 304 Shadow Ridge Condominiums. Another letter. This one's really Dear RM Ritchot, hello, my name is Michelle McEwen and I have been a resident of Ile-des-Chênes for 24 years. I would like to oppose the 150 rental properties to be built in town for a few reasons. I am worried about this developer since there has been trouble associated with some of his work in Winnipeg. I would like to know more about how they will address the access to our town amenities via sidewalks, etc. Visual amenity for the people who have purchased condos in the area, not knowing about the possibility of 150 rentals within their view, buying outside of Winnipeg to get a country view. Adequacy pardon me, of parking, loading, turning. Highway safety, traffic generation. For all of those reasons, I would like to say nay to this proposal. Michelle McEwen, 528 Notre Dame Bay East. I oppose the application of the proposed development. Diane Amino. I oppose the application of the proposed development. No name, but the address says Lionel Amino. I oppose this proposal as IDC does not need any more rentals at this time. Suzanne Sawchuk, 981276 Old Path 59. Good morning. I would like to voice my opinion concerning another rental property in Ile-des-Chênes. I oppose this as there are definitely enough rentals at this time in town. Thank you. Valerie Sandon. Good morning. I am opposed to C5-2020. Ile-des-Chênes does not have the infrastructure available at this time to support an additional 150 rental suites townhouses. The provincial government must decrease the speed limit of the highway Old 59 for vehicle and pedestrian safety before any new developments are built. There is currently a sufficient amount of rental units and real estate available in and around town. Regards, Liz Ferguson. Good afternoon. I am opposed regarding the building of new townhomes in Ile-des-Chênes. The tiny town and infrastructure is not ready for all those extra people and traffic it will create. Thank you. Amy Podkonjak. Just sending you this email to let you know I oppose the building of the 150 rental townhouses in Ile-des-Chênes, Manitoba. From what I am aware of, Ile-des-Chênes presently has ample other vacancies at this time, so therefore does not need more rental properties at this time. It is nice to see growth in our province, but only as necessary. To whom this may concern, I oppose this proposal as I strongly believe Ile-des-Chênes does not need any more rentals at this time. There are already enough rentals in town and the infrastructure cannot handle any more traffic. There is a reason why those that live out of town do so. For the privacy and the protection of the residents, there is no reason to add more buildings to that area. I'm sending this email in regards to the building of the 150 townhouses. I feel we do not need these at this point. We will be attending tonight. Thanks, Damian Granger. I apologize, the last one was Melissa Hildebrand. Hi there, I have received the notice of hearing for the construction of 150 townhouses in Ile-des-Chênes. I am against the proposal. My choice is based on the lack of information. When will they start building? How many years would it take to build the townhouses? The timeline could affect the sale of my unit if a few years. Also, the traffic would be affected by the construction, and Old Path 59 is already a fast route, speed route for traffic going back and forth between the small towns. 150 townhouses would bring traffic and a lot more circulation on this busy route. Thank you for your understanding. Melina Prévost Rabidou, 1228 Old Path 59. That's all the letters. That is all the letters. I just want to make a general comment that I did some research. We do not have an economic development officer. I did some research and I contacted one of the property management firms in Ile-des-Chênes, and our vacancy rate is near or less than 3% and no bungalow rentals. That's just a general comment so that the people that did say there are too many rentals, I wanted to give them the statistics that we are less than 3% vacancy. Okay, I will ask for one last call if anyone would like to say anything before I close the hearing.
Hi, Chris, can I say something?
Absolutely, Desiree, go ahead.
Hi, so one of the points that I had brought up in my letter was that there's a lot of confusion about this, and I was hearing a lot of complaints that people were unaware of this project. Now I'm looking at a plan for Shadow Ridge right now, and I question if anyone beyond Shadow Ridge has received this notice, because everyone within 100 feet received it. So
100 meters.
100 meters.
Yeah.
Okay. So that it does exclude a large chunk of those condos that are on the other side of the highway, at least for the main road going into Ile-des-Chênes. Now you've received a lot of opposition to this, but everyone, you know, there's such a disconnect for residents to voice their concerns, as in the earlier ones who had wanted to speak and they are not able to. And those are people that are right next door to the property. So yeah, I just wanted to clarify how far the notices have gone, if they have reached all of those condos that are in that area, because that is a large population. And
Yes.
It seems like you're only hearing from Shadow Ridge, which is great because they are the direct neighbors.
Okay, no, I appreciate the comment. We are following the guidelines the province has set out in our act, so that's what we are doing. I appreciate that though. Thank you, Desiree.
Okay. Thanks.
Anything else? Final call? Okay, I will close the hearing at 7:46 p.m. This will be the end for the evening. I will not be bringing a mover or seconder. No debate or discussion between council will happen this evening. I am calling a special meeting for Monday, April 27th at 9 a.m. for application C5-2020 for council to debate, discuss, and vote. Thank you and have a great evening. That's it. Dominic, you can